The next section in the exhibition is called Post-War Revival. After World War II, or the late 1940s, Knoxville's art scene really begins to get a new shot of life with the influx of some very talented avant-garde artists. One of the leaders of that group was C. Kermit, or otherwise known as Buck Ewing, who came to East Tennessee, founded the university's art department, recruited a team of really talented younger artists to join him, and together they established a foothold for avant-garde painting in East Tennessee. And they were important not only as artists but also as teachers. And this section includes a nice selection of their work. Here is a very early example of Buck Ewing's work before he got involved in abstract expressionism. He was from Pittsburgh. This is a scene from his Pittsburgh days done around 1943, and it makes you think of Edward Hopper's work. There's a lot of graffiti and other kinds of content here. He's even got the date there, some graffiti of his name, lots of interesting surprises here, but he's beginning to reduce his composition down to flat areas of color. His brushwork over the years would get more and more expressive, such as the work we have across the way by Buck Ewing from a few years later. This painting is called Sports Final from 1949, and Ewing is portraying a newspaper seller along Kingston Pike in Knoxville. He's even described the paper there, the News Sentinel, and has the headline spelled out, but you can see how he's using very thick brushwork, very sort of choppy and fragmented looking. The figure appears to be very, again, worn and drawn and almost eroded by his surroundings. And again, the human figure was an element that Ewing was very much focused on throughout his career. Carl Sublett was one of the artists that Ewing recruited, and Sublett was from Kentucky, a really talented painter who was able to paint in a variety of styles. This is one of his paintings from 1960 called Down East. Sublett, unlike Ewing, was very much focused on the landscape as his main inspiration. And he would travel to parts of East Tennessee. He would also spend a lot of time in Maine along the coast. And he would look at the landscape and try to capture its moods, its movements, its rhythms, in slashing, bold brushwork. In some passages here, he's almost squeezing paint directly out of the tube, again, trying to reduce the landscape down to its essential rhythms and movements with bold color. Walter Stevens was another young, talented artist recruited by Buck Ewing, and like Sublett, Stevens' main focus and main inspiration was the landscape. He too would travel with Sublett to Maine and paint the coastline. He would depict crashing waves and rocks in broad areas of color laid down very quickly with great confidence, great virtuosity, and with, in some cases like this, explosive color to produce vibrant scenes that reflected the landscape but also reflected the artist's mood, the artist's state of mind, very strong individual statement. So it's not just describing something in the world, but trying to describe something within the artist. Bob Birdwell was another young, talented artist recruited by Ewing, and like Ewing, he was very interested in urban settings and the human figure. Here we see a view of Gay Street from 1962, where you can, knowing that it's Gay Street, looking at the title and seeing that, you begin to pick out the profile of buildings. You can see windows, other structures that don't appear to be from the natural world. These are definitely the urban environment. But again, he's reduced them down to their basic geometry. He's laying on thick areas of paint, in fact, maybe using other materials to build up a strong texture. And again, this is as much about what's happening within him, his emotional reaction to the scene and the world around him, as it is to describing a particular place at a particular time.